Welcome to my shitty podcast. So shitty it only has one T. I'm your host, Adam Copeland. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing. And most importantly, thanks for telling your friends. Thanks for telling your friends about this podcast. That goes a long way. I also want to thank my guest, Joel Someone, for coming on and talking to us about porno acting. You know, that's good stuff. And just a heads up, whenever we get to the poop story, it gets a little graphic, so stay tuned if you want to. But this is your warning. So I hope you guys enjoy. Without further ado, let's let the cat out of the bag. Oh, before we let the cat out of the bag, let's talk about all the show notes, how to get a hold of Joel if you need to. Those are hyperlinked in the show notes. So, yeah, without further ado, let's let the cat out of the bag.
It's 8 a.m. here. It's going to be 8 a.m. soon.
Ooh, good morning.
Good morning.
It's nice to have coffee with. I got my cup of coffee right here. So,
you know, this is actually decaf. I stopped drinking caffeine like 4 months ago.
What's the matter with you?
I can't kick the habit of having coffee in the morning still, though, for some reason. How's my audio coming in? Is this an okay sound?
You know what?
I also have these, which I can try out if you want.
I was just looking at that, actually. So you're coming in great. Do you want to try with that? I can tell you, better this way, better that way.
Let's switch over real quick, okay?
Okay.
I'll unplug these real quick. These are kind of sus, you know what I mean? I can't tell if these are good or not.
Yeah.
Because I was doing the audio test, and I couldn't tell if I liked the way these sounded or not.
Uh-huh. So you get a little bit of a chirpy noise whenever it's kind of like a little lingering chirpy noise with the headphones on.
With these ones?
Yeah. Tell me... Tell me...
the rain in Spain comes mainly in the plains.
It's not that bad, actually. Does it feel more comfortable with those on?
No, the other ones are more comfortable. Okay. These ones are more expensive for some reason.
Yeah.
You know how it is. It's like, these cost money.
I have to use these.
Why do they suck?
Yeah. Okay.
And I'll just switch over.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think you sounded better the first go round. Clearer, I should say. You sound great either way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, it's funny. This is no problem because I don't have to keep an erection while we do this. So this is great.
Perfect. Is there anything that you don't want to talk about before we get into this? Like, nah, it's all good. Okay, great. Fantastic.
It's all good. And you edit, don't you? Like, God forbid we get too deep in the weeds. You're like,
yeah. Take that out. Yeah.
I'll do like a physical signal. I'm like,
yeah. That's good. All right. Okay, cool, man. We can get started if you're ready.
Cool. Did you want me to record too?
If you want to, that's always a good fail. So, like, I don't know. Let's say the internet just shits out on my end or something. That's always a good fail safe, but you don't have to.
I'll do it too. Just hi. I'm going to start recording now. Give host permission. Please ask the host to give you permission. May I have permission?
Yes, please.
I think it's going to ask you somewhere, right?
Okay.
For my own day. This is like the Donald Trump thing where I'm like, no, I'm just making sure Diane Sawyer. What did you have to say? Ask me questions.
Go
now.
ahead. Yeah.
World Star.
That'd be the best if you said World Star. Oh my God. Okay, cool. Let's let me start my recording.
Recording in progress.
Beautiful.
All right, got it.
Why don't we start with just like introduce yourself and tell us what you do for a living?
Okay. Well, hi, I'm Joel Someone, and I'm a gay porn actor. yeah, that's it.
That's great. How long have you been doing gay porn acting?
I've been doing gay porn acting for 3.5 years.
Awesome. Tell me, let's reverse a little bit. Like I want to start way back from the beginning. Tell me a little bit about like your upbringing. What were your parents like? Were they, did you have a religious
No, no, I'm
background?
just kidding.
Cut that,
No, just no. I grew up in Belen, New Mexico,
Yeah.
which is like 35 miles south of Albuquerque.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, my parents are originally from New Jersey, so they were like weird alien transplants to the rural Southwest. And I grew up in New Mexico my entire life, actually. I was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico, raised in Belen, went to school in Albuquerque. So the one thing that's very Jersey about my parents is they are so cool with a commute.
Yeah.
They were like, you know what? These people, all they do is complain about driving into Albuquerque.
Yeah.
That's going down the street to the Wawa takes 30 minutes. You know what I mean? Like they had no problem commuting. So
I don't have to get on the turnpike.
I went to school. Turnpike. There you go. Look at you. You speak it in Jersey?
I speak it in Jersey a little bit.
But I grew up. Lived in Belen, and then literally did all my schooling in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and so I got to go to like a Montessori school for elementary school, and then I went to Jefferson Middle School, and then Albuquerque High, and then went to the University of New Mexico via the lottery scholarship.
Awesome, man. Yeah. Whenever we first started communicating, you were like, "Wait, are you in New Mexico? I'm from New Mexico."
Hold up.
Yeah.
Hold up. No, I deeply love that you're in New Mexico right now. That's awesome.
It snowed this
morning.
Did
it snow?
Yeah.
No, so one of the reasons why is I listened to a couple of your podcasts, and you did one with this comedian in New Mexico, and he kept mentioning things like Coronado Mall, and like I was like, well, I remember those things.
I brought you back. Yeah, that's great.
So it snowed, you said?
Yeah, it snowed. It was, but it's it's super light. It's going to be gone by lunch, by noon. So
yeah. Except when it's not.
And then,
the city closes down for 4 days.
Yeah. Did you have a religious upbringing at all? Were your parents big into?
Actually, no. My parents are both like borderline atheists.
Cool.
They were raised Catholic, but the nuns beat the religion out of them, as they
yeah.
They tell everyone the nuns beat the religion right out of them. So there was no religion in my life. It was mostly kind of like it was kind of like we would do. I remember I did communion because it was like to appease grandparents.
Yeah.
But they were like in Jersey, and it was like to send a card. It's like, look, we've brought them to a church.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was the closest religious upbringing. No, actually, my father always told me never to trust groups of people.
Yeah, that's great advice, actually. That's really good. I should have put 2 and 2 together with a Montessori school. Like that's usually you're not, you're
pretty godless people.
Yeah.
They're like, oh.
It's Montessori school, and then hell, like Satan worshiping right after that.
Exactly.
Right, into it.
Full on satanic. It's the satanic Montessori school.
Cult, yeah, the cult soon to follow. That's great. Tell me a little bit about like Tell me about like the first time that somebody ever like took up for you. Do you remember that? It doesn't have to be the first time, but like maybe a memorable time in your life where someone was like, "Hey, wait a minute, that's my friend over there."
Oh. So I mentioned this is going to be kind of a theme. I'm Italian, right?
Yeah. That's right. Okay. Many times.
Every other day, my father came in to give my teacher the business.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? What's little Joel doing? Well, why are you treating him that way?
I love the hands. If you're watching right now, there's a lot of hand motion, which comes with, the Italian heritage. My favorite story, one of my friends told me on the phone, and he's at a Starbucks. He's a writer. He's at a Starbucks, and we're casually talking. He goes, "Oh, hold on a second. I just saw the most amazing thing. This guy speaking Italian put his cup down so that on the phone, put his cup down so that he could do this in the air. Doing hand motions, set the cup down on the phone to go, why are you not, whatever he was conveying.
Well, I actually struggle to express myself unless I have my hands.
Hands are up there, yeah.
If my hands were tied behind my back right now, I'd be really distressed.
Yeah. Do people clear things off the table when you start to tell a story?
Well, I'm gonna.
If you don't, I will.
When I pick up the table and then I start shaking it. Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah, right. No, oh my God. So didn't mean to go on a full Italian tangent.
No, it's good.
It's funny, and it's so funny being Italian in New Mexico. I lived my entire life in New Mexico, but I have like little Jersey isms in the way I speak because my parents full on have like the Cockney Jersey accents, like full on. When they first moved to New Mexico, they were living in Berlin in like 1990, and my mom was working at like a bakery.
Wow.
And one of the girls who she worked with was convinced she was English. She's like, that lady with the English accent. like, okay.
How are you not 400 pounds? I think I came from, Italian is like my favorite cuisine by far. Like I have a hard enough time not eating it.
I was about to say, you wouldn't believe the things I have to do to not be 400 pounds. That is my DNA. I do come from, rotund Italian people.
Yes.
Kind word. Rotund. You know what I mean? The rotund Italian people. They're very lovely and rotund. Yeah. Jolly Italian people.
If you will.
If you will. So no, I work out a lot.
Constantly, yeah. There's a cognizant effort to stay in shape as opposed to like, well, good genes, No. It's a constant, I got to look out for this. Especially
another theme that you should know about me is I'm also a practicing homosexual. And so that's just part of that's actually a religious thing for us, is going to the gym, constantly being at the gym, talking about the gym. And when we introduce each other, have you come just from the gym? Yes, I've just come from the gym. Great.
Why are homosexual men so much better than straight men as far as like we take care of ourselves? Health is a big issue. I watch what I eat. we have a whole community. What did you just come from the gym? Yes, I did. No, I'm going next. Okay, well then we'll keep this short. Why? What is the
Do you know how scary Grindr is?
It's
Do you know how terrifying it is to basically have a LinkedIn interview plus an Instagram attached to one thing? It's like, what do you look like and what do you do?
Yeah, let's see it. How interesting are you?
I don't give you the time of day.
When did you start, Joel? When did you start? Like, how about this? What was the last job you had before you started acting?
The last job I had, so I worked retail for 10 years in New Mexico.
Yeah.
And I will always have a deep love in my heart for service people.
Yes.
Because that was I did more shameful things before I was a sex worker in retail. I tell everyone that. I'm like, you know what? If you're doing that gig right now, it's like God bless you and thank you for your service.
Yeah.
But I worked retail for 10 years and I went from being a sales associate to being management, which means they pay me just enough to make sure that people don't rob us blind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was, and I'm a creative person. When I was at the University of New Mexico, my major was studio art. I really wanted to be a painter. I really wanted to be an artist. And I really wanted to kind of be able to just have a job where I could express myself artistically.
Yeah.
And retail is one of those tricky little monsters, especially kind of like pseudo luxury retail, where it's all like, we want you to dress to your best every single day. Like, look your absolute best.
Okay.
And pretend as though you can afford a lifestyle you don't have.
Yeah.
Like, I want you to live it. I want you to feel fabulous. And and I was a trainer. So I was that person like, when you walk in that door, paste a smile on your face, no matter what's happening. You know what I mean? And you will just, I was a really, really good employee.
Yeah. Yeah, clearly.
To do that. And then it's like, we're also going to pay you $7.99 an hour. How's How's that an hourly rate
You
for
can
you?
do that, right? And still be happy.
6 months from now, I'll put you in a raffle for a handbag. How's that? Handbag raffle. Handbag raffle. Am I seeing smiles, everybody?
Everybody's back
Good.
in. Everyone that was about to leave, like, wait a minute, this handbag
Wait a minute.
raffle. I could get that. That's good. what?
So that was my job before I became a, a really like pro slut, like
Yeah.
just a pro league slut.
What was the breaking point? Was it like, well, I'm sleeping with
You
the
know, the
clientele
funny thing,
anyways?
right? I love. Okay, first of all, that's my favorite thing about doing porn now is like because people always tell you the questions they get a lot. It's like, what happened to you?
What happened? You poor thing. By the way,
Was it your daddy? Was it your daddy, or was it like an uncle or a cousin you never met? Yeah, tell me.
spill it. I want to know.
Spill it. Spill it. Tell me what happened to you, little boy,
Yeah.
to make you do such dirty things.
So I don't do it. No, that's.
Come talk to my kids.
For the record, by the way, a lot of these, like, did you come from a religious background? What was your upbringing like? A lot of these are just like standard questions that I ask, just for the record. But
Oh well, it's funny because I do Mormon themed porn, and so I'll meet like ex Mormons all the time, and I'm like, "Oh, you're ex Mormon, so you have tattoos and do meth now, don't you?"
you really cut loose.
Figures.
Yeah, that's great. No, I'm interested in like, okay, let's say you were just like a professional painter. I want to know the point where you're like, fuck retail. I am thinking about painting all the time. So maybe I should have gone into porn because that's what I'm thinking about all the time in my job. I'm thinking about it right now. So
it pops the bubble. The one thing I will say is I apologize. I'm teasing. And actually I don't mind questions. It's funny living in LA and being around people who are like celebrities and pseudo celebrities because the things they get upset about, I'm like, have so many seats. Please remain seated. Permanece sentado, por favor. Remain seated, please. All right. Oh my God. Like the things people get upset with. So I get lots of random questions like that, and I love it. Are you kidding me? Like
sure.
it's like the greatest thing in the world. People asking what you do, how you did it is the best. So sorry, I hope that didn't come across that I have like the thinnest skin in the world. I'm like, just so you know.
No. No, I just did. I too. I mean, let it go, man. I apologize if I ever offend anyone ever, but because that's not my intent. I don't have malicious intent, but I also want to be respectful. So I just throwing that out there.
But to get into this, the breaking point for me, just to get to go back to the question, with you, to actually answer it this time, the breaking point for me was just, I had suffered a serious sciatic injury in my right leg, and I had been going. So retail had always been school and retail. Go to school and do retail, and my injury made it to where I had to like just full on commit to like the retail monster, and I got kind of sucked into it. Like I dropped out of school and I wasn't able to like, you know what I mean? I stopped doing the things I wanted to do and started just to live to work. And 3 years into that, I was with a partner who I was torturing because we should not have been together. I was living to work. I wasn't living creatively. My self-esteem was in like the toilet. You know what I mean? Because, I had an injury that like made my life weird and I had my eating habits weird. And so I gained a little weight. I lost a bunch of hair. You know what I mean? To just like name it. Life came at me like full on. Come on, life. And so, I remember I was like 5 years into the new retail gig that wasn't attached to school at all or anything creative that I felt. And I started acting out. Like I started working out a lot. Yeah. Like I just started like working out excessively to a dangerous amount. I started working. I love how I was like, I started working out. Mine wasn't good working out. Mine was full on like exercising bulimia. Yeah. And you know what I mean? Where you just have that breaking point where like you don't know what you're doing, but you're just doing it. You're like, I'm just doing this. I don't even know why I'm doing an hour's worth of cardio twice a day, but I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm just going full forward. And so I got really skinny, and which equates to attractiveness in the homosexual community sometimes. And so I went from being this person who was like creative and kind of modest with my sexuality to a person who's full on doing all the despicable things you could imagine.
Yeah.
Like everything. Minus, I don't do drugs. I've never done drugs. I'm not into drugs whatsoever. That's the reason I've been doing so well is I'm not a drugs person at all.
Yeah.
When I had my leg injury, weed helped me with physical therapy, but that was the extent of it.
Sure.
But no, I was doing all sorts of really debaucherous sexual things and getting to see kind of the nitty gritty dark side of like sex.
Uh-huh.
And once you go there for free, it's really easy to charge for it. It's really easy.
Yeah. That's great. Your cheers. Your
Cheers to that.
Your Instagram is very artful. Like it's very. I can tell that there is there's like an artistic side to you that you like to tap into. Because there's a lot of photography on there that I was really impressed with, and I'll put your Instagram link in the show notes so people can click on that and check it out while we're speaking to it. But do you feel like there is a creative itch that needs to be scratched, whether that's photography or painting or some other facet that we're not aware of?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said earlier, my dream was to be an artist. I've always wanted to be an artist. And the truth of the matter is also with my Instagram is you can't put dirty stuff on Instagram.
Yeah.
I know this. I know this because I lost my first Instagram. My first Instagram got like ripped from underneath me.
Yeah.
And you can tell it's an artistic Instagram because I have under 15,000 followers. Where if I showed my ass crack every other day, I would be like 100K, like full on 100K, like 100K. But that's just like that's a hard gate, And it's funny because I've lost both my Instagram and my Twitter. Both have been like taken away from me, and it's weird to talk about that in terms of like, oh no, I lost it. But it's sadly this weird currency when you're a performer.
Mm-hmm.
Like social media is one of those really weird pieces of currency you kind of have to have in your pocket. Like 60,000 followers on Twitter really means nothing. It means nothing. That means absolutely nothing.
Yep.
But when you're trying to work with other performers and build OnlyFans content or build like your like placement in like the pecking order of porn, it's really sadly very important.
Yeah.
Because like you're in like tiers. Like I'm in the 60,000 Twitter follower tier.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't work with anyone under 20.
Yeah.
I'm really happy you started and you want to start taking this seriously. Maybe like you know what I mean. It's very weird to have that actually be a thing.
I too. I've filled out journalism.
Oh,
forms.
I saw how many followers. You barely got an answer from me. You barely got. I'm sorry. I didn't want to have to say in front of all of these people.
I'm terrible.
Go follow his pathetic Instagram, everybody. I'm worried for him.
Go now. I'll never have any friends, and I'll never be able to climb this ladder of.
You're clearly alone. I'm sorry. You're clearly alone. I saw your Instagram. You're a lonely person.
That's literally leads into this story. I've filled out like journalism, like, oh, I want to come and see if I can do podcast interviews at this convention. And they're like, how many subscribers? Okay, this many subscribers. How long have you been doing it? This long. Okay, great. How many Instagram followers? And it's like, dun, dun, dun. Not that many. I don't know, like a couple hundred. Like, sorry, you can't just throw the form away. You can't come to this convention. So I understand the like, ooh, I can't. You're not popular enough.
Well, I just found out yesterday that my boyfriend has 25,000 followers on his Instagram, which is 10,000 more than me. So it's put a strain on our relationship. I'm just kidding.
Tag me in some stuff. Yeah.
Jesus Christ, he does. He actually tags me way more than I tag him. So.
Fair enough. That's great. Do you have any advice for anybody that might be wanting to break into the industry? Is there something that you could?
Yes. Assume that the industry doesn't want you. Like, no, just it's any industry. If you're modeling, if you're doing theater, if you're wanting to get in TV and movies, anything like that, just assume the industry, because that like I always wanted the like discovery thing to happen to me. Like I always had that kind of like dream that I'd be walking down the boardwalk in Atlantic City and someone would be like, "Hey, you should be a model," kind of thing like that. You know what I mean? Like
Come with me.
I always thought that was going to happen. Like I was waiting around, like just literally like.
Uh-huh. I've been on the boardwalk for 3 hours now.
No one. I've been sitting at this cafe for hours modeling.
Yeah.
All right, nobody. No, the only reason I say that is because it just gives you a just have the hunger. I remember I got my first rejection in New Mexico. There was this really, kind of like low budget porn studio that would drive from state to state in like a little like shady porn caravan, and they came to New Mexico and they were like finding models. They're like, yeah, they picked like the two hottest boys I knew in town and they did scenes with them. And I remember it took every fiber of my being before I got like attractive to like send like 3 pathetic photos to them being like, dear porn producers, it has always been my dream to do an adult film and no. And I remember they wrote a very, very, very short message to me back. They're like, you're over 28 and you don't have abs. Like, it was like, you're just a virgin who can't drive. Like, it was very that. And it was the fire that took me to like, oh, and I got them back good. I got them back good. Don't you worry. Don't you. When I got that 60,000 followers, I let the hammer come down.
Yeah,
like, no.
Take that.
I eventually worked with them and then had to tell them after 3 times of working with them, I'm like, you have zero memory of this because I was an internet person. And now that I have to deal with internet people on a regular basis, I understand that they're very unmemorable because they don't have any humanity attached to them. But I was an internet person you rejected really hard once. And now I'm really hot and in front of you. So thank you. And thank you for your rejection because it turned into fire and it made me my hate towards you.
Yeah.
Made me such a good porn performer. Thank you.
Yeah. You're the story of the phoenix, the fiery bird that just like burns out.
I'm Jean Grey. I'm going to take over the franchise for the rest of the X-Men is no longer going to be the X-Men. It's only going to be the Jean Grey show. Yes, I am the phoenix.
The spin-off. That's great.
Hope you didn't come for any other characters this week. It is the Jean Grey show. We are only talking about the phoenix.
You do a segment called Post Sex. I wanted to talk about that, where you do interviews also. Can you tell me what?
Right, be careful. I don't want you to get me in trouble. No, so I do a post on my Instagram. I don't do it as much just because it's like it's hard. I'm always on my tiptoes with Instagram. I'm always scared. Like once you've been like cut off once,
yeah.
And you lose all the followers, you lose the name that you built for yourself on there. You're kind of like that's very much why I'm more of like pretending I'm not a whore on Instagram as much. Like you really have to dig. You have to get like a trowel and just kind of like figure out that I'm some type of whore on my Instagram because it is relatively classic.
I think he's a whore. I can't quite tell from Instagram.
I can't. I feel like every social media kind of like person could be having an OnlyFans. I think he might.
Yeah.
I think he might. Oh, this is a really good act he's putting on.
Yeah.
So I do. So on my Instagram, and usually it's a vibe thing. But the thing that's really funny about becoming like an OnlyFans sex carny is that. Right. I'm sorry.
Well done.
Thank you.
I like it. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're a linguist, sir.
It's just because like usually you're trying to gauge how much you can take from this situation because it's free and you're collaborating with each other. And so the fact that I get a cameraman most of the time, like if I can help it, I'm like, I get a friend over, I'm like, dude, hold the camera while I do sex stuff. Close. I need a close. Do a pan and then a close up on
you can touch my thigh. You can touch my thigh.
See the penetration. They need to show them that. Yeah. Anyway, so usually I'm already putting so much like production into it. And I edit it and everything. If the people are really, really cool, and I'm like, hey, I sometimes do this where I jump in the shower and go live because I do it from the nipples up. See, that's my trick. and wait until it and please, if you hate me, please don't go flag it. Please don't. Please don't. I just they you know what I mean? Like Instagram's such a mean monster. They're they're so mean. But it's just nipples up. There's nothing sexual about it at all. It's just we're in the shower and we're like, "Hi, I'm da da da. Let me introduce you to this other person." Da 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 da. And it's just kind of like I was a person who, and I think not everybody, but a lot of people watch porn, especially now. And I just always wanted more from these people. I always wanted just like a little more. I'm like, give me humanity. You're hot. What do you got?
Yeah.
What do you got? You're hot. I get it. Cool. Let's give you an award for your hotness. That's great. Just a little more. Just a little more. Just a little more. Just a little more humanity.
And I think it's
mostly because.
Go ahead.
Mostly because I wanted also the reason to slightly hate them. I'm like, if I'm gonna be real to you, and like chubby me sitting jerking off is like, you're too hot. What's wrong with you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, it's the voice.
Yeah.
Oh, that accent you tried so desperate to shed? Pure West Virginia.
Yeah.
How quickly the boys found you, all those tedious, sticky fumblings in the backseats of cars.
You're Republican. Oh, I get it. You know.
Tell me about Whole Foods and vaccinations. What?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
There you go. No, that's great. That's great.
We love that for you. Yeah, that's good.
That's cool. No. I'm not judging you on that. I'm just starting an alt Twitter to hate you. Yeah. Like I'm not BuzzCat69 who says you need to slit your throat.
Yeah. I didn't flag you.
Ridiculous.
They don't. That's anonymous. I didn't flag you. Boop.
Boop.
That's so good. I always think it's a funny dynamic, or I thought it was a funny dynamic that most of the time you get to know people before you have sex with them. And this whole thing is like, now that we've had sex, let's get to know each other a little bit. Let's have a little interview. I thought that was a quirky, funny thing. Like, oh yeah, this is this is a good peek in the blinds of like, this is, gay acting, gay porn acting. It's a little bit like this.
What's the best is when you do it and you don't know their name. You've only heard their name once.
Yeah.
You've only heard it once, and it was kind of muffled. And you're looking at the cameraman and be like, "Yeah, hey everybody, I'm Joel Someone, and this is."
Go on.
The audience did. I need you to say it for the edit, so I can edit in you saying it. You know? Yeah, no. Lots of little things like that. The other thing too is like, it's also sometimes nice to not know. I like people. I genuinely like people, and I will say a good 80% of the time, if you meet them beforehand, you're like, awesome. Like, fuck it, 85 to 90% of the time. But then there's that 10% of the time where you're like, you're undoing all the hard work that ass is doing. You are working overtime to kill that bod right now. Oh, please stop. I still have to have sex with you.
Yeah.
Please stop.
I need to maintain an erection. That's got to be.
I was like, let me grind up this Viagra and snort it. Let's see if that works better this time. Because Jesus.
My second little fun known fact. I started the show with, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you do for a living? Because my second interview ever, I said, I'm here with Alonzo, and he is a like a customer service person. And he was like, it's Alonzo, and that's not my job. And I was like, okay, fuck. From here on out, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, because it was, and it's, I kept it because I don't know. It was funny, but anyway.
You have to keep those moments because you will laugh. But it's
funny now.
My best piece of advice, and one of the reasons I do so well in this industry, and I tell everyone this, I love this job because even when it's awful, even when it's fucking terrible, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Even when it's the fucking worst scene ever, everything is wrong. I haven't eaten, and now I'm throwing a fit. Even when it's like that, it's the best. Like the storytelling, you can get from this job is incredible. I have been in the stupidest situations I have ever could have imagined. I have been with the weirdest people I could have ever met. I've gone to the coolest places and met you know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
name it. And I get to fucking do it.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? There's like a gratitude you have to have. And it also like, it kind of like stops you midway. Like midway through the trauma, you're like, where's the joke? Where's the joke? Where's the joke?
He's going to break the silence pretty soon with a joke.
Yeah.
That kind of segues like into the whole theme of this, my shitty podcast is I ask people what the shittiest part of their job is. Could you give a little more clarity on like, this sucks for me. Me personally, this is the worst part of my job is that I have to do this thing.
So the shittiest part of my job is just the chase. It's just like any performer. It's the hustle. Like it's that and actually this is just the story of being an artist in general.
Sure.
How do I do something that people don't want to pay for and make a living off of it?
Yes. Yeah. That's
how do I do this thing that's very creative based that everyone kind of feels like they can do?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
A job. How do I do that?
Yeah, and profit from it.
And the money. I have to live, don't I? Yes, that the one thing about this job, especially when I started, was that how do you live off of it? And I remember I moved from New Mexico to New York City, and I lived in New York for 3 years. I know. And I survived. Yeah. I survived.
He did it.
The things I did to survive in New York. Fabulous. Fabulous. And I'm also not ashamed to admit that I dabble in escorting, kind of thing like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was like, that was what I found out real quickly in New York. There's a reason there's thousands of escorts on the website. It's because prostitution is really a side job in New York. Like in New York, that is really a legit side profession. It's like, oh yes, I am working at a gallery on Tuesday and selling my body on Thursday. You know what I mean? Just for the perks.
I got a full week. Yeah, I'm a little booked up,
I really want to go to Fire Island at the end of the month, and it's looking like sex work is going to be my option.
I think I can do it. I may have found a way.
I think I could do it. And so that was part, to be perfectly honest, and I'm overly honest. It's kind of that. It's like, how do you balance this? Like, my dream was always to do porn. This is true. I don't joke when I say this is my dream job. I absolutely love doing this. But it's like, I have had to chase down gigs. I've had to go to stupid states, half of the time on my own budget, half of the time sometimes paid, sometimes having to pay for my testing. Somehow, you know what I mean? Just like, I'm kind of like to think of myself as like the nanny of porn. I had style, I had flair, I was there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't even tell you how many gigs I've gotten because A, B, and C aren't on the top of the call list.
Mr.
You know what I mean? Like, da-da-da.
The nanny of porn. Insert Fran Drescher impersonation.
Oh my, I can't even tell you how many gigs I've gotten because they're like, da-da-da failed their test. Da-da-da didn't show up. Da-da-da called 20 minutes ago with a cold, and we have a crew and another model, and we need someone. Call Joel someone. Da-da-da. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? I'm dead serious. I've gotten so many gigs from cancellations. And part of it was that New York drive. Like, living in New York for 3 years, you don't flake on people. Yeah. You just don't.
Yeah.
Because as big as that place is, it is tiny. Like, sure. You know what I mean? There's only so many boroughs that you could shit on before you are thrown out of that city.
Yeah. That's sound advice. It's true. I've been to New York a surplus of times, and I've got friends in New York. And it is funny that but this is the community, and it's so large. The idea of it is so large, New York, and everybody's there, and you go there to make things happen, and it's endless possibilities. But it's not. That's not endless
It's not. It's
possibilities.
really not. Actually, it's funny. I've gotten more work in LA than I ever did in New York,
Really? Yeah.
which is very weird for me. Which is very weird for me because like I moved March 2020, like balls deep in the pandemic, and I've had a greater arc to my career moving to LA, period, than I ever did in New York. New York is just, it's phenomenal. It's just, there's no work there for a lot. Like, you know, I mean, there are certain industries there, but for the most part, there's not a lot of work for certain types of things.
Sure.
And especially when it comes to something like porn or just like adult work and stuff like that. So I would say, you know, the what I am so grateful of is that it gave me just a work ethic because when I came to California, I was so excited to steal lazy California jobs. I am sorry that you smoked weed before this gig and you decided you didn't want to do it because Joel, someone from New York, is taking that job. I am just taking your job.
You,
Just saying.
you mentioned before we got started that you stopped caffeine. You ended up quitting caffeine. You don't do drugs. How do you maintain an erection if your heart is not in it? Does this have something to do with it? Like no alcohol? You just meant it just like a little bell went off in my head. Like, oh yeah, remember to circle back on this because I'm curious. There have been
See, I'm
times.
the opposite. I don't perform well altered in any like, and it's funny to be with people. Like, I remember hooking up with people who would be like, "Let's smoke weed and have sex,"
Uh,
and I remember smoking weed and then definitely not having sex.
yeah,
Um,
I'm not.
like it was the kind.
Sorry, I was just gonna strengthen that point. I'm not all there. If I smoke a little weed then have sex, I'm a 50% in. I've done it, and
It's
I think I'm the same.
and it's also very presumptuous too. Like it's to do, like, you know what I mean. Like it's when I run into people who do drugs on set, they're usually people with a very like short career span.
Uh huh.
You know what I mean? Because you could never, and I'm really, I am so one of those people who is really kind of like, one of the reasons I do get a lot of work is I dare I say I'm lovely to work with. Like I am, I have good energy. I'm excitable. Like I come in, I'm like, the day has started and we're all doing our dreams.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like when you walk into anything doing that, people are like, oh yeah, this guy, oh, you know what? This guy's
Uh
good.
huh.
You know what I mean? So it's like you come in with a good attitude. The only problem with drugs is it's just like sometimes you're vibing and you're like, yeah, yeah. Oh, da, da. The only problem is when a brick wall comes up. I remember when I was smoking weed a lot. Um, my ability to have kind of like my creative thinking and like creative problem solving wasn't as good. So when like problems would show up, I'd freeze. I'd be like, I don't know how to solve this problem.
Yeah.
Where do we get nachos and Slurpees at the same time?
Yeah. You can't
That's
toggle.
not Walmart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, wait a second. There has to be a store.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
We should make a
so
store. Yeah. Then you. Anyways.
if the drugs like kind of iron over the fear aspect for you, it doesn't always kind of like last. And especially on porn sets, the second you get a camera, that's kind of scary. Like this, like you can have as much sex smoking weed as you want, but the second a camera gets on you and it's like
Yeah.
they're closing in on you, and you're like, wait, just a second, I popped a pimple on the back of my head, and that's the angle he's seeing right now. He sees the pimple on the back of my head.
Yeah.
Oh, my erection is gone.
Yeah.
My erection is gone. Goodbye, erection.
been
R.I.P.
Yeah.
And so I don't like being altered because I get super super vigilant and I'm super kind of like every corner of the room. I'm like, so I try not to. I'm a user of Viagra. I love Viagra.
Hmm.
Viagra's fun. Like when you during a porno, like popping a Viagra really helps. But you do have to be attracted to the people. I've gotten to the point in my life where anytime I've really run into people with weird whatevers, it's usually nerves. They're just expressing their nerves in a different way.
Right.
And once you look at it that way, it makes you like I don't get offended easily. I really don't. It's hard to offend me. I Try. Just, you know what?
Do
Get
it.
up on your computers and no, I'm just kidding. Because like even with like trolls and stuff, like people, like I've just gotten to the point of my celebrity where I've gained some trolls.
Uh-huh.
I've gained people who write nasty things about me. Yes, golf clapping, everyone. Thank you, thank you. It is the Louis Vuitton bag of fame.
Yes.
I'm really
Yeah.
really excited about it. It means
Yes.
I'm making it. Thank you. But it's so funny to see people be upset about trolls when I'm like, they're just trying to get your attention. That's it.
Yeah.
They don't actually mean what they say. They're saying that to every other person. They just want you to notice them. And so, yeah, it never really bothers me. So on set, when I run into people who have weird energy, I'm the type of person who will sit down with them and have a conversation. I'll like, all right, we're going to do two chairs facing each other. Hi, I'm Joel Sullivan. It's nice to meet you. My sexual fetishes include this, this, and this. I have a little bit of childhood sexual trauma, but I'm sharing that with you because I want you to humanize me at this moment and to show that I've shared something kind of deep with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm okay with that. I'm all right. Let's go deep because we're about to do penetrative sex on camera. And we need this to make this work. I'm scared. Are you? You scared?
Yeah.
You scared? Okay. Help me with my erection. Please help me.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
then
Thank
I'll
you.
help you.
There we
in
go.
return. Yeah.
We're friends now. We are friends now. The sex can happen. Call the crew.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I wondered about like Viagra, if that was it has to be, right? I would same scenario like you were saying with
everybody has their own thing. Everyone has their own thing. I don't like to diss on people who use drugs or anything like that because, like I said, it's not my journey. I just see the success rate of that being really inconsistent.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like that works when it works, and it really doesn't when it doesn't. And so I know people. It's just whatever you need to do to get in your head. I just shared with you my kind of get into your head kind of thing. Some people like to smoke weed before, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm loose, excited, and weirded out at the same time."
And that works for them. Yeah,
Works for me.
that's great. What's the average lifespan of a porn actor?
Well, the average lifespan is, well, they put us down when we turn around 50. Like, you know what I mean? You get sent to the pound, and they put you down. It's hard to say because that's usually another question I get is like, what are you gonna do after? I'm like, baby, what did I do before? Jesus. Like,
not retail.
Thank
I'm not
you.
going back there.
I was gonna say, I'm like, I'm a creative person. I build all so working through OnlyFans, I've really started to be able to make my own brand of videos. And that's the classic thing is production. If you're really smart and you're really artistic, you go from fucking in front of the camera to holding the camera while people fuck in front of it. And that's always a good lifespan to it. And I like that. I'm a performer. I love what I do. I also really believe that everyone's beautiful. I really do. If you guys scan through my Twitter, and actually this is a good little prompt right now. If you're listening to this podcast and you want to check out my stuff, go on my Twitter at Joel Someone, the number 1, and DM me asking say, hey, I want the Easter egg. I want the Easter egg, and I'll send you a whole Dropbox link of one of my videos. And just because because I'm okay with that. I have a whole docket full of videos that I have hand created myself, edited, filmed, built sets for. You know what I mean? Like I love you see my artistry in Instagram. I also put it into my porn.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? In the sense that I edit it in a way that gives it like a nice kind of drive and a beat. And even for something that you're masturbating to, you'll get a good chuckle out of it. You'll watch and you're like, oh, this guy's fucking funny. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So if you've listened to this, ask for the Easter egg on either Instagram or Twitter. But yeah, so it's kind of like that. I also truly, I watch guys in their 50s have sex, and I'm like, God damn, you're fucking fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think I do a lot of, I love fetish. Well, I love fetishes. You know what I mean? I love working in fetish porn because it just gives you a different audience of people. And if you sit and talk to them about it, you get a different perspective on the way they look at sex. Especially, I've done a lot of religious themed porn, and I grew up, like you just noticed, without religion in my life. But to do something as like deep and kind of traumatic, like a Mormon themed porn, you have to feel it. You have to test the air and understand that there's something there.
Uh-huh.
Even if it's a religion you don't subscribe to whatsoever. If you go and look at it, you can meet and find out where all of these emotions and stuff come from. And it's really interesting and beautiful. and gives you a nice perspective on the people who really are into that fetish.
Yeah. Joel, you are a true whore in the sense of whether it's porn, art, theater, like you're gonna put yourself out there and put your trauma in your art, put your experience or your comedy in your porn, put your personal story in your theater. Kudos. I really, really respect people that, you know, it's going in there. It's going in the podcast.
Apply it to the challenge.
Yes.
Apply it to the challenge.
Yeah.
All right. If you are feeling a certain way, apply it to the challenge.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? I, I, I think I love what I do, and I remember the reason was I was a porn viewer for such a long time. Like I was a person that didn't really, and part of why my last relationship it was in New Mexico didn't last so long is as I was very pornosexual.
Uh-huh.
Like I didn't have a lot of like a sexual identity with my partner. I watched a lot of porn
Yeah.
and didn't really connect my partner with it, and that was really hard on him because I just all of a sudden pulled out and there was no longer a sexual entity in the relationship. It was me and porn. And so I remember how much porn meant to me. And so when I make it, I do it for that 15-year-old version of me who has questions.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like who I can't ask adults anything. All I have is TV gaze and porn gaze.
Right.
And that's my only relationship with homosexuality is these two performative acts. You know what I mean? I don't know anyone. I grew up in fucking Berlin. Not to say there's not gay people in Berlin, but in like 1990 through 1999, there wasn't a whole lot of them performing homosexuality on the street.
If they are,
You know
they're
what I
not
mean?
talking about it. Yeah.
No, they're not. And so it was hard because I say this to every like gay couple I see. I'm like, thank you for being open couples. Thank you for being billboards for our culture and who we are. Is like, you know what I mean? There's a nice gay couple walking down the street. You don't realize all the little boys and girls watching, seeing that is a lifestyle that can be lived. That is a lifestyle to be able to walk on down the street and actually appreciate. And I think it's this whole journey for me really is nostalgia. It's a lot of different things. And I do have such deep respect for it. Like I have such a deep love and respect for what I do, as ridiculous and stupid as it is half the time.
Yeah.
Half the time this job's fucking dumb. And I love it.
Yeah, exactly. I know. It's part of it. Like it should be. I am a closeted punk rock punk rock fan. And I love punk rock for that very like sometimes it's really, really serious and deep, but a lot of times it's super silly Billy, like that was the dumbest
Clash.
song
I
ever.
love The Clash.
Yeah.
The Clash is a good example of going fucking silly.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. I that was just me saying I totally agree. Like you should. It should be. I love that it's a silly thing and a serious thing. Like it can be used in so many different facets. A political thing. It's Anyways.
So which one of your questions was? Sorry, and I don't really mean to be like
No.
pulling the taffy on this one.
Let's
But
do
one
it.
of the questions is like, how do you get into this? And it's like what I tell people is I'm like, you have to start baby steps. You have to start small. You have to apply to a studio and have them give you the hardest rejection of your life. You have to pull out your camera while you're doing sex with someone and be like, hey, can we film this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to kind of like, you have to tiptoe into places that you're not comfortable. Like you really have to push yourself and really kind of like commit to it. One of the things I really like about this new kind of generation of people who have OnlyFans just for fans, all of that, put your camera on, start jerking off in front of a camera. Can you do it?
Yeah.
Can you get hard in front of a camera? Can you come in front of a camera? Because if you start, you might be able to. You never know.
Sure. Yeah.
Like learn what it is. Start learning your body better. You know what I mean? Start like using your body more as like a tool in that regard. Like kind of try to subtract yourself.
Yeah.
Imagine, because my biggest fetish, you want to know my biggest fetish is?
Sure.
Being in front of camera. Oh my God. Oh my God. Like I am such an exhibitionist. And the one thing I love to say to scene partners before, just if there's any nerves, is I'm like, our sex is going to be so beautiful that people are going to masturbate to.
That's
You and I are going to have such beautiful intimacy. I'm so excited to be with you. And people are going to film it. And then people are going to watch us in the dark and masturbate to it as if they caught us doing sex.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
We're gonna make thousands and thousands of people come. You ready? Yeah. I'm not just going to make you come.
Right?
That's fantastic. That's great. That's a great, like, okay, now let's do this. That's a great, like, break the ice little tagline. Kudos. I hope I didn't ruin any, like, this podcast doesn't ruin any, like, oh yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
No, I haven't done any of the spoilers. Because I don't like that. I like that kind of, I don't want to ruin porn for people. I don't.
Sure.
I really don't. I still watch porn. There's still people I like watching porn. You know what I mean? I don't actually want to ruin porn for people. Because, the only thing that porn ruined for me was all the stuff that needed to be. All the stuff that I needed to, like, get out of my head. And, like, you know what I mean? When porn had control over me and made me feel lesser than, is when I needed to, those were the lessons I needed to get out of porn. The bad lessons I learned, the bad kind of, like, things about porn I needed to get out. That's all I lost from doing porn, was all of the scary stuff that made me not feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. Good for you. Good on you. Joel, we got a little deep. We got a little silly. The end of this podcast, we always, in tradition of the podcast, we always end with a poop story. I apologize for not briefing you on this, but I often forget it, and sometimes I think it's nice to spring on people. It doesn't even have to be your poop story, but do you have a story of maybe when you were a kid or an adult where an accident happened?
See, this is the real porn for some people. They're like, yes, I was waiting for the poop story.
We've covered
now it's hot.
Every genre. Yeah. That's right. Every single genre. We got poop. We've got, like, romantic.
Poop story. So as I told you before, my religious background is that I'm a homosexual, and as being practicing in this religion, we have a good relationship with our butts, and I bottom. I'm a person. I'm completely versatile. I actually lost my virginity to a girl on camera. The first time I ever had sex with a girl was on camera.
Wow.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm all about kind of, like, new experiences. But since being a verse type of person, you have to really have a decent relationship with your poop. Like, you just gotta,
sure.
You know what I mean? Not that it and I are friends, but we're colleagues.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so douching has always been one of those kind of processes. So I won't lie, I don't have a lot of weird poop stories with myself as much, because once I kind of learned that
because you're responsible.
You need to not have it on the set with you.
Yes. Yeah.
I got really good at avoiding that. Now, that's another thing I'm never ashamed to talk about. If anybody needs stories on how to not have poop on your dick, that's I'm really good at that.
Yeah.
But it's funny. One of the funniest poop stories I would say I have is I do the Mormon themed stuff, and they always have, like, a daddy-son thing where it's like, there's the older man with the younger boy, and da-da-da-da-da. And so they'll pair me with, like, a 19-year-old who, they're new to this.
Maybe just
They're
started,
like,
yeah.
They're like, they think that I had Jamba Juice yesterday and Chipotle 2 days ago, and da-da-da-da-da. I'm good. And so on set, the sets for those, and so there's on certain sets for the Mormon theme, they always do, like, the background temple room, which is this white on white room where it's like white carpet with a white couch and white pillars and drapings everywhere, and it's like this luxe white room. And then I'm wearing this creepy white touched by an angel suit where it's like white on white on white, a white tie with a white shirt and a white jacket, white shoes and white gloves, everything. And it's like, here, we are going to do the anointment of this boy. And it's like kind of like, all right, here we go. And then I butt fuck them.
Yeah.
And I'm in this fortress of white solitude, and it's like I'm feeling squished, and I'm like, oh no, no, don't pull. Like, after a couple times of pulling out, and as RuPaul would say, it's just chocolate.
Yeah.
It's just chocolate. It's just chocolate, and the room is ruined now. I've soiled the white room. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, I definitely have soiled the white room in the Mormon church sometimes. Yeah.
That's great. What can you maybe give a little bit of insight to people that want to try anal about, like, some preparation? I have a second podcast that I do with a sex therapist, and we talked about this a little bit, and her preparation is much different than mine. So I'm curious. I'm curious about yours.
Okay, and you could segue into this. You can do a little cut of this into the, you'd be like, sure, someone talks about butt fucking. Um, so with me, anal sex is something that if I'm not ready for it, I don't enjoy it.
Sure. Yeah, I
Like
get
if
that.
I've gotten to that point in my life where if it's 2 days into whatever, I'm eating whatever, living my life, no, 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 and sex happens, and it's like, oh, you want me to bottom?
I, I just had barbecue and like I've
Okay,
I've been
I'll. n- I've gotten to the point where I don't do it anymore. But when you're like a younger gay person, you're like, I guess we'll try.
sure. Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. We never know.
Yeah.
We'll try. Um, I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy it. The whole time I'm clenching, the whole time I'm anxious, the whole time my hand is under myself. Like, oh, okay. Well, oh, you're doing long strokes. Can we just go all the way in and
I
stay
just don't
in?
come out. Yeah.
Let's just stay in. We looped up. Stay in.
Yeah.
No long stroke. No in and out. No in and out privileges. So there's no. I did not stamp your penis. We are not doing in and out privileges right now. Okay. Um, so in those, you know what I mean. I find myself, since I'm already like a really hyper vigilant person. If I'm not ready, it is purely for that person. And they're like, "Oh, are you going to come?" I'm like, "No,
No.
no, I'm not going to come. I am allowing you to fuck me in the ass until you receive climax, and then we will discuss after."
Yeah.
All right, after, you know what I mean? And it's not looking like I want to come. No,
Yeah.
let's just finish. Please just fuck me and finish. If I'm not ready, that's kind of my headspace for anal sex.
Yeah.
If I'm ready, ooh. If I know I'm clean and clear and under control, I am having the best time. I am like, yeah, do long strokes. I got this trick where I can put my hand inside and then kind of rub your penis. Like, I got tricks. I got tricks. I'm excited. I'm confident. Yeah, my butt's great. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and something pours out. I'm like, it's just your pre-cum pouring out of me right now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Trust me. Anything that comes out of me right now is what you put in there. So thank you.
I am confident
All right?
that is all
I
you.
am confident. Sorry, that is a very, very graphic depiction of anal sex with me. But so I have to clean out, and so when I clean out, and so one of the other things too is I work with guys who have humongous penises, like humongous penises,
Yes.
and I have a good size.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to brag. I have actually a very good sized penis. I have one that finds stuff. If there's something in there, my penis is going to find it. But when you work with someone huge, you're getting a colonoscopy, and they're going to find it too. They tend to fill in all the nooks and crannies with their penis. And when it comes to that, and another aspect of that would be with guys who have like giant cocks. This isn't everybody, but sometimes can't get them 110. They might be at like 90.
Yeah.
And so if you're like, that's one of the things that's hard about working with young performers is they'll be so tight, and they're squeezing, and you're like trying so hard to keep your erection. And you're like, please, kid, stop squeezing on me.
Yeah.
Please stop.
I need circulation
I'm trying
in
so
there.
And it's just like that, like trying to, and then like once you're at like the 75 percentile erection, then trying to put it in like a tight hole, it's just like, it's like pivoting off.
Yeah.
Like, nope.
Good.
Going right up the crack again.
A good friend
Nope.
of mine calls that pushing rope. It's like trying to push a rope
Yes.
into a.
Oh, that's such a gross term, and I know. Oh, it's so visual. You're pushing rope. You're pushing rope, and so I don't like as a bottom. I don't want people to do that.
Yeah.
Like if you're already kind of rope pushing, I say to guys who have big cocks, I'm like, and this is gonna sound very gross. I've got loose pussy ass. I'm like, I got loose pussy ass. Don't worry. You're good. I got that loose pussy ass. You will slide right in, friend. Don't worry. And then if you need to get your beat, you can just like start, and you're good. You're good, man. You got this. Don't worry. You can get hard in me. Don't worry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
We'll pick it up later.
So I recommend people using a toy of size or greater size than the person you're going to fuck.
Ooh, yeah.
Like when you clean, but also remember, this is going to go right back into the poop story. This will also make sure you're good to take a dick. Because if you put that toy in you and something is on the toy, you'll know that you're not done, buddy.
Yeah.
You're not done cleaning out. Yeah. No, you're not.
Yeah.
So the toy really helps with that. Like the toy really helps kind of like jiggle around inside. It loosens you up, which I personally like, and I think most people do. I only know like a handful of people who's like, I want your super. No, that's not real. That's not real. They don't want your boyish tight pussy. They want you like loose. They do.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And so the toy helps do that. And also, I use like a shower hose.
Hmm.
The toy also makes sure all the water is out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it helps do all that.
Yes. That is also another concern of like once you're like, okay, that's good. Then you gotta the final step
Murky
is
waters. Well, and like I said, it's never yeah. When I mentioned like the Mormon Boys set and everything like that, it was always like a fountain. It was always murky waters shooting out all over the white set.
No.
It was always it was a Chernobyl effect. There was graphite on the roof. You know what I mean? It's like hard cut. We need new white outfits for both of us.
Yeah. Everybody needs new outfits. That's fantastic. Joel, thank you so much for doing the podcast. You crushed it, man. You really, really did an excellent job. I can tell you're a true performer. I'd love to have you back on sometime, maybe on the second podcast if you want.
I would love that. And I'm trying to get back to New Mexico because I have a bunch of shit I need to do. Do you ever do this in person?
Yeah, that'd be
I
great.
would love that. I love in-person shit.
Me too. Yeah, me too. Let's do that. Thank you so much again. That's it for us. Play us out, shitty ukulele.
I went really deep with the anal sex kind of like clean out procedure. Could you just put like a little prompt before that, just saying, just so you know, Joel Someone is going to talk about graphic anal sex. I tried to